Okay, I am online. My name is Evil Machine, and I'm a simple bot playing indie games. And tonight I'm continuing my playthrough of Roadwarden. This is the second time that I'm playing Roadwarden. I played the first time last year, and by last year I mean 2023 now, because we are approaching 2025 now, so last year is gonna change maybe as I am streaming. So I'm at Foggy's place here. I had a mission somewhere. Notes. Next step, bird hunting and then explore ruins. Okay. I think these are the ruins I was thinking about. Oh yeah, let's put a medieval outfit on to match the game. Okay, so let's go. Bird hunting. So it's the morning. Listening to the grunts of the annoyed aggro makes you feel uneasy, but at least the furs covering the floor are helping you relax. You don't even notice when it's already morning, and while the smell coming from the lower floor is not inviting, at least it's not you who has to take care of it. Foggy turns toward you and waits for you to speak. I got rations. Okay. Can I sell you something? Nah, love, come back with something I could sell at a profit, or maybe hanging on the wall. Okay. Let's approach the foragers, see if we can go hunting. Svi is trying to remove a green mark from his jacket with his own speed. I have everything I need, let's hunt while it's still early. Ilan clasps his hands. Then we are going. Idiot, take care of the horse. He nods towards the man with one hand. Ilan puts proudly a rope and a bag on his shoulders, while Svi shoves everything under his black cloak. They gather by the gate and mock their companion as he toddles toward the lake with an empty bucket. I grab whatever may be of use from my bags and scratch Agro's neck. The lake's surface is gentle, interrupted only by the jumping fish and shiny dragonflies. The statue stands in all its glory, observing the road and those who use it. The coin you left in the wooden bowl is no longer here. A nice thing, isn't it? Ilan thunders behind you. It's older than our home. What you say? Chips in Svi. Do you have such things by Hovlavan on the roads? Carrying your belongings on your own is surprisingly tiring, and you make noises with every turn. We do, but they are old from before the war. Not really, the statues. A few, but I haven't paid much attention to them. We do, but they are old before the war. He makes a satisfied grin. The war has ruined everything, hasn't it? All the monuments and palaces and temples and slave owners, poor northerners. After a short chuckle, the larger man goes on. What sort of statues used to be there? All sorts of important figures, heroes of rights, tablets, local champions, famous adventures. People pay sculptures to honor themselves, to make themselves remember They mark places of importance, or spots where an important event has happened. No, important figures. Zvi smirks. How about you put those dragons into building homes for the families of those champions, or taking care of the old folks of those adventurers? I bet they are not as important as a cold rock on a half-forgotten road. The absent eyes of the statue have nothing to add. So, do you know who this is? Nah. Ilan is more focused on the fish breaking through the surface of the lake. It's old and the woman is stranger. I heard no stories of it, my ma could. We should move on. Hey, let's not linger, says Ilan as he walks down the road. We move forward. The valley seems especially peaceful today. A couple of lizards are resting on the rocks, basking with no worries. Ilan points east to the large bird at the edge of the horizon, which freezes in the middle of the steppe and turns its orange head in your direction. See? Time to get ready. Well, avoid the beak and the legs and the trample. He pauses, inspecting the loop at the end of his rope. And don't hurt it, if you don't have to. We don't want it to be a bother. Zvi gently drops his belongings in the middle of the road and jumps in place, rhythmically breathing. After he takes off his black cloak, he reveals a set of fancy clothes made of black leather. Clothes of a sneaky adventurer. It charges like a moron. Be nimble, that's all. 1 or 2 ropes on the neck and we are halfway home. But don't let pass you by, eh? I'll stay alive and you do the rest. Should I also take a rope? I can throw it at the bird and pull once it gets behind me. I pat my crossbow and nod towards the shorter guy. How about you play the bait? No, we want them alive. No, I can't throw a rope. I don't know, friend, says Ilan. Roping isn't easy. Don't be too reckless. We don't have magic on our hands. And we can't buy another Roadwarden, adds his companion, so don't make this a bad trade for us. I wait for them to get to the side of the valley, then approach the bird. It's taller than Agro, with wide breasts and long, thick, partially feathered legs that could easily trample your chest. Its thighs are thick and powerful. The pointy beak could swallow your entire forearm. Your steps are getting slower. I look around nervously. Are the foragers? I need to calm myself down. I try to speak confidently. I beat my chest. No, I need to calm myself down. You put your right hand on your chest, noticing it is rising and falling as the air moves through your nose. You can't take your eyes away from the creature's overwhelming posture, but as your breath remains deep and slow, you don't feel afraid, just ready to defend yourself. Soon the bird is surrounded by your group, and the pond behind it blocks its path of escape. Once it realizes that, it speeds up, charging in your direction. I take a good look at the monster. It's tall, wide, with a massive head. Its feathers are torn by the wind. They are vividly brown, white, and creamy, longer than your handspan, coating the creature like a cape. Its steps are heavy and deliberate. The neck, as long as a limb, keeps moving around, sometimes staring at you with but a single black pupil, surrounded by deep orange. The light gray break resembles the leaves of the local plants. The tip is curved, pointy, and in no way smooth. It carries dozens of grooves, maybe a sign of an old age, or maybe a trace of hundreds of hunts. Try to find its weak spots. Am I even ready? Yes, I am ready. It waits no more. It raises its head and makes a long, piercing screech which fills up the entire valley. The feathers on its neck are shaking, but also waving, moved by the muscles. It then flaps its wings and lunges forward, still shouting, charging at you with full force. Should try to rope it? No, I keep my distance and dodge when necessary. I hold my ground, make a quick dodge, then grapple the bird. Yeah, I hold my ground. The giant feet are pounding the ground, with every leap scuffing up clouds of leaves and sand. It lowers its long neck, pointing it at you like one would a spear. You wait to duck at the very last moment. In the blink of an eye, you show up at the beast's side, pressing your shell to its large chest, too large for you to wrap your arms around. You try to avoid the massive legs, but the monster turns out to be as confused as you are, making an angry screech and trying to shake you off. The feathers are scratching your cheeks and getting in your mouth. Once the bird gets rid of you, it runs east, not aware that it only helps your companions. Oh, the same options again? It helps my companions. I keep my distance and dodge when necessary. You do your best to find a balance between running to safety, jumping away from the beak, and staying close to hold the bird's attention. Its reflexes are so quick that you can't imagine doing this while also trying to strike it back. Finally, you are lucky. The creature doesn't find a way to land a hit and observes you with respect. It turns around but stops in place when it sees your companions. It looks at you again, preparing for the next charge. I hold my ground. You wait to duck at the very last moment. You try to catch the beast from the side, but it has enough time to pick your shoulder. Your gambeson does its job and protects your flesh. Though in pain, you press your shell against the monster's wing, trying to avoid its legs. The runner, as confused as you are, makes an angry screech and tries to shake you off. The feathers are scratching your cheeks and getting in your mouth. Once the bird gets rid of you, it runs east, not aware that you only help your companion. Repeating texts in the scene a lot. That's when the loop lands on its neck, tightening quickly, and Svi shouts cheerfully. The bird remains silent, maybe already out of breath. But then it dashes forward so fast you can't help but step back. It either doesn't understand the danger involved in moving in its situation, or doesn't care about it. It runs forward, trying to flee. It takes 5 jumps. You hear Elan swear. Without looking at him, you know that he let go of the rope. I need to stop the bird before it runs away. I grab the loose rope and pull with all my strength. I stand in its way and try to catch it. Shoot it. Charge with the axe. No, I try to grab the rope. You dash forward, barely reaching the pulled rope, then start to roll it with both hands. You plant your feet on the convenient rock, then pull, felling the bird on its side. But its strength and weight knocks you down as well. It tries to get up, but you keep pulling, fighting against its muscular neck and legs. Elan comes to the rescue. It's now 2 against 1, and the beast can't make much as a step. After Svi ropes it with yet another loop, the battle is over. The bird staggers, trying to keep its head straight, until, exhausted, falls on the ground. Time to regroup. and I'm filthy again. The bird keeps trying to find a way out, but with little luck, once it regains a bit of strength, it charges at you. But after just 2 leaps, it gets stopped by the second rope. It regains its voice, screeching at its tormentors, but there's something more hidden behind its previous threats and anger. Maybe pain, maybe contempt. "A damn good job," thunders Ilan. He starts to laugh. "You are jumping around like a monkey. You have some legs." "Shag me, I missed my throw with the rope," adds Zvi loudly. Gasping for breath after a long run, though he keeps smiling with pride. At least the second try worked out. The bird's damn ours, and that's all that matters, eh? I smile. Good teamwork. "Hey, you deserve your coins." Ilan taps his pouch, but doesn't pull out any dragon. "Let's move on. The sooner we get back, the better." The other forager lets you know that he's ready. The runner is still far away, held on the taut rope. I gather my belongings and lead the men north, chit-chatting about our hunts. Every few minutes the runner tries to get away, and even though it's exhausted, you have to move slowly, paying attention to his steps. The forager seems to know what they're doing, and at no point you feel threatened by the creature. You keep looking around, but the other beast seems to step away. At one point you notice the blue wolf among the shorter grasses, but it only observes you in silence, standing on all paws as if it's ready to run away. Your anxious companions fall quiet, but you keep moving forward. In the middle of the journey, you think about Agro. During your stroll, everything seems taller, and the creatures you pass by feel more real, as if they are no longer just shadows for you to leave behind. Being on the road without it feels lonely. I feel vulnerable, as if I'm inviting predators to chase after me. What matters even more is that I don't have most of my stuff. I feel vulnerable. Foggy observes you from the top of the stairs, with the hand resting on her stomach. "Well done, dears," she grinds at the sight of the runner. "Tether it close to the water, love," she looks at you. "Be nice and head to Creeks today or tomorrow, will you? Tell Ephraim we are coming and to give you a bone for the message." She glances at the man with one hand as he scowls at the beast. Creeks? I don't think I've been to Creeks yet." I don't think I've been to Creeks yet. In the far north. Is it farther than Gale Rocks? Before she enters the door, she smiles at her son. "Once you are done, wash your hands and come for dinner. Tell me everything." Tethering the creature to a beam takes you a few minutes. Ilan's gasping for air, leaning on his knees, and while Zvi keeps his posture straight, his red face betrays him. "Well," says the tall man, "I have your dragons here. Thanks for your work, friend." The ring-shaped bones are covered in his sweat. Agro is observing the movement on the lake. Okay, I got my dragons. People won't talk to me because I'm pretty dirty. Is there a place I can clean myself? Not this lake. You know what? I am gonna travel. Let's find where the creeks are. The road east is beaten and clean, with enough space to fit 2 wagons side by side. You pass by a few plum trees, apple trees, and cherry trees, but many more stumps, likely belonging to what has been turned into Foggy Lake. The life in the plains is busy and loud, but so far you don't see any lurking beasts. Judging by the many trampled parts of the meadows and the fresh food trails, the foragers search this corner of the peninsula quite often. They didn't leave much behind. You reach a shining pond at the edge of the forest. You ride beneath 2 trimmed trees growing on the opposite sides of the path. Over here. Like columns leading to Right's temple. Shouts and heavy steps prepare you for trouble ahead. 2 shells are circling around each other. One of them is a 4-legged saurian with dark gray skin, as long as your palfrey but only knee-high. It's wandering left and right along the bank, hissing repetitively, sticking its split tongue out and then retracting it. The stout monster doesn't look like a born hunter of humans, but his long tail is swinging like a whip. For now only threatening so, but you don't doubt that getting hit by it would likely break your bones. The second one belongs to a brown-skinned man, wearing leather pants, a long brown woolen cloak, and the matching pelt of a wolf on his head and shoulders, like a haunting hood. His voice is both gentle and scared, and he's stretching his hands in front of him, trying to make the beast stay away as if it's a mouflon. A 3rd shell is right in the middle between the other 2, a creature you don't recognize from a distance, but it is in a puddle of its own blood and it isn't moving. Axe in hand, I jump on the ground and rush to help. Now I ride slowly, taking a closer look at the entire situation. You stand up in the saddle to have a better view and realize that the corpse on the ground is but that of a white ibex. The man who acknowledges your presence with a nod speaks with a hint of playfulness in his voice, asking the saurian to be so nice as to stay away. He then turns towards you and points at the prey. "Friend, lend me a hand, will you? I'm trying to seize it." As you dismount, the saurian takes a step closer to the pond. Just step away. How can I help? He grins and triumphantly raises a finger. "That's the spirit. This ibex is our destiny, friend." He points at the beasts, and as his hat moves around, the loose, shaking jaw distracts you. "Say, friend, do you have any fruit in those sacks? Throw some at it." Why would it care about fruits? It has a whole ibex to eat. That's correct. "Just trust me, eh?" he grumbling whispers. "It hunts only when there's nothing better for it to pick. They live on trees, you know." You look at the saurian's shell, wet from water in which it was sitting not so long ago. The man notices your gaze. "I'm almost sure." "Well, I do have some fruits, so why not?" You show him a sack and he eagerly nods. "Perfect, go ahead, throw them." You grab apples and pears that don't look so appetizing and toss them toward the beast. They land just next to it, and while it walks left and right, moving its tongue in and out rapidly, it only crushes some of the fruits with its feet. Maybe more would do it. Without asking for your permission, the man grabs a few more plums, throwing them right at the beast's head. They land, and the creature cuts the air with its tail, hissing angrily. But other than that, nothing changes. Yeah, it's not going for the fruits. You know what? I think the fruits eaters have those long yellow dots on their backs. He starts but clears his throat after he meets your eyes. Okay, I will distract you. You grab the ibex. He scratches his hood and nods with approval. You know what, friend? That's an excellent plan. Do so. Without another glance, he once again shouts at the beast, then dashes away from you, followed by his cape. The monster hisses and reaches forward, as if waiting to see what you are going to do. You step forward, hoping to draw the monster's attention as far away from the carcass as possible. It answers your challenge and shortens the distance even further. Focus on avoiding the attacks. How do you expect it to strike? I keep an eye on its tail. Jump away when it opens its mouth. Jump aside when it tries to pin me to the ground. Keep an eye on its tail. The Saurian still surprises you with the range of its attacks. It turns around while pouncing forward and swings the tail at your chest. Thanks to all the attention you paid to its movements, you duck beneath it, then jump away. The next few sways are distant enough that you don't have to fear them. Ha! Dumb beast, you hear. The thief is running away with the ibex on its back, holding it by the legs while it hangs from his shoulders. You chase after him, barely able to outspeed the monster yourself, as it has already lost any interest in you. Without your help with the weight of the carcass, you doubt the man could get far. I shout at Agro to run. You follow the trail of blood as well as the constantly bouncing head of a brown wolf. Once you get close, the man doesn't mind sharing the burden with you. You now hold the creature by its head, and while running side by side is awkward, the weight isn't overwhelming. Your palfrey leads the two of you up the hill. It didn't even touch you, eh? Some good dodging. He warmly laughs. Let's not tempt fate. He looks back, yells in panic, and speeds up. I tell him to prepare for a fight. But the clash never comes. After another minute, the beast gives up on its pursuits, though you wouldn't have realized it if it wasn't for Agro, who now trots without a single care. You look back and the Saurian indeed backs down, moving to its spawn slowly. Once you approach the woods, you take a short break. Even from a distance, you can see a distinct trail leading between the trees. Not a garden, this forest, the man speaks briefly, gasping from the burden. But not too dark, and cats are but a few. Boars are there, though, and gargoyles. Better not go too deep. There are no roads there. His face is not much older than 20, shaved with great care, cleaner even than among the city folk. While his hood and heavy cloak mask his figure, he seems well fed and healthy. We're halfway there, friend. Creeks is a gorgeous place, you know. You love it. Carrying the ibex takes a while, but the man is incapable of being silent. Every unusual tree seems to be tied to a story from his life, and he makes sure that you notice the first stream you cross on a new solid bridge. One of many creeks, you see, he says with an untamed amusement. A thin gorge leads between the mountains. Truly feels like an end of the realm. I do love the sound design of this game. The soundtrack and the nature noises are mixed so well together. You follow the trail of shouts and laughter. 7 people, about 20 years old each, are gathered at the wooden bridge, leaning against the railing, bathing in the stream, laying on the grass. Pieces of clothing, made of fur and leather, are spread around next to cudgels and throwing clubs. I don't know what cudgels is. I don't know that word. Once the sound of hooves manages to break through the chattering, The curious young eyes, untouched by wartime, turn toward you, and an excited whisper spreads. The shells are proudly displayed, and the confident smiles are both inviting and challenging. "How's water?" the hunter greets his tribe's folk while stepping on the logs. "Gentle and warm," says a man resting on his friend's shoulder. "That's a nice ibex. There are paths leading in many directions, but the main road will take you uphill." Awkward as I walk past the naked people, I look at the watchtower. There's no reason for me to be embarrassed. I look at them. The light dances on wet hair, both of their heads and crotches, luring your eyes just as much as the revealed chests and muscular arms. You've interrupted not just their bath. The soul who's speaking with your guide is embracing another man as he's sitting behind him, while one of the women is keeping her arm around the waist of yet another man. You hardly see any wounds or marks caused by sickness. The harshest days of this group are still ahead. As you move your eyes from one person to another, they greet you with kind nods, but you notice that the ones standing on the bridge are holding their breath and leaning away. You notice your own scent, and once you step off the logs, the hunter chuckles. "Seeking warmth, eh? Don't worry, you can always wash yourself in here." I nod to the group, then follow the man. I remember the first time I played, I suspected there was some kind of secret, some sinister secret, and this idyllic paradise here in the north was just a facade. But I've been to creeks in the first playthrough a couple of times and didn't find anything suspicious. But I didn't explore. I'm exploring way more this time around. I'm going way faster. Because, you know, the meta game, I know things about the game now that I didn't know the first time I played. So now I might explore the creeks a little bit more and might confirm if it's really a suspicious place or if they are actually living in paradise, as it seems. The palisade is as tall as trees, but being placed on the top of the crags makes it look impassable. What? Why is the gate closed? The hunter turns to the watchtower and repeats his question, only louder. Maybe call Ella? Too blind to see we have a guest, eh? A hardly visible guard with a female voice leans from the tower. He's coming, Hauler. Relax. Her shouts hint of no patience toward him. The youth died in the woods after the bath. Why would we close? Why wouldn't we close? The man glances at you. I wait. They argue for a good minute, and you realize it's just friendly banter. You don't recognize some of their jokes, referencing? I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Events and peoples you've never met. Their accent resembles Foggy's, but is thicker, and you have to get used to it. Don't let Ephraim talk you to death, friend. The soul from the tower shouts to you as the gate opens. We enter the village. The sparse clumps of grass survive only on the edges of this spacious yard. The few onlookers wear working clothes suitable for their hard labor. They are carrying tools, planks, and logs. You are next to a large building of unusual shape, either a temple or a house of gathering. It makes you think of a cabin that's been getting larger over the course of the years, with the section in the middle being darker and more crude than the outer ones. This building here. A slightly overweight man is standing in front of the building with open arms. "Welcome to Creeks, friend!" His voice and eyes are gentle, but there is a vigor in his stance and gestures. Ephraim was meant to hunt, but I see he brought not one but two unusual creatures. The hunter rolls his eyes. "Don't embarrass us with his prattle." He raises his voice and fills it with bitterness, addressing no soul in particular. "And you maybe ask someone to help us with this ibex. It's our shared catch." He points at you. "Now I want to know to whom we are grateful." Ella nods towards you. While I introduce myself, I observe him more closely. Being close to 30 years old, he's one of the older souls around, just like the other villagers. He has clothes made of animals, not plants. The leather pants and jacket are humble, but the shoulder cape, reaching from his neck to elbows, used to belong to a yellow elk. His brown skin is darker than that of a farmer, and as you look at the outreached hands, they carry the marks of being cut by tools. "I am Ella, the carpenter. We've heard of you from Foggy." He takes a step toward the fruit tree and invites you to move forward. Like most men in the village, he's cleanly shaved. "How about I show you the rest of the village? It may be humble, but it's as beautiful as a blue starling." Let's be friendly, why not? As he grins, you notice his unusual white teeth. He moves with heavy but enthusiastic steps. "It won't really take that long, but we have quite a view." "I swear," interrupts the hunter, "I'm not carrying this ibex to the kitchen. Someone call the cooks." After dropping the carcass on the ground, he springs away, fretting at the blood on his hands. "Let's take a stroll then," says Ella as he leads you forward. "Your mount can drink at the creek here. Come, Agro." So one of the creeks is here. There's a bridge. Pass over here. And this is the other creek. There seems to be another one here. It would be nice if there were some animations like of the water running down. You tether your mount to a tree next to drying laundry. Ella points at the land behind the bridge proudly. "Our newest addition to the village. The hunters grow old, so we are taking steps away from meat and fruits." You spot only two people working in the field, or rather a large garden covered with cabbages, carrots, onions, and garlic, indistinguishable from the wild plants growing in the woods. On the path between the two halves of the field, an elderly woman is sitting on a stool, looking in your direction as if you are interrupting her contemplation. "Old Hava there will turn this place into a proper farm one day. She has little strength, but keeps precious memories of her trade." I speak quietly. She seems austere. Ephraim snorts, holding his laughter. "Just be happy you haven't grown under her. I'm lucky to have my ears after all the pulling and pinching." "Don't overcall her, she carries a lot." Ella invites you with a gesture to follow him deeper into the village. At least above the quiet children. Just let her do the talking. The fewer things you say, the fewer reasons for her to get upset. Yeah, I know the type. The bonfire spot is surrounded by logs that were cut into tables and stools. Ella approaches the nearest chair, rubbing its back with his cut hands. "When we share a meal, we do so here, sometimes beneath the stars. You'd have to see it. The flames dance on the walls to the monsters' roars and crickets." Ephraim's voice also grows in enthusiasm. Dining at the edge of the forest is something you wouldn't forget. Unless you can drink. Don't swallow anything stronger than spoiled ibex milk. The shadows, friend. Terrifying. You glance over the wooden buildings. While the walls seem fine, the roofs are primitive, mostly made of plants that are already soggy and bent. There are a few people working on cleaning barks from a log, but the square is mostly quiet, with a few kids observing you from above their toys. Burning such fires must take a lot of wood. Bit of a fire hazard, isn't it? A lot of woods. It's not something we need to worry about, Ella shows you to look around. We mostly burned what left after sawing and construction, gathering fuel for a few dozen days. Some of us think they can learn woodworking all by themselves, Ephraim says mockingly. So we waste a lot of wood. At least we can roast meat on long sticks as we sit here. Nah, we already have results. The carpenter moves his hands from the chair to his stomach. Everything you see here, friend, was built by us and our elders. How about I show you our old forest? Is it far away? You find the answer right away. You stand between two of the houses, in front of the gate of an animal pen. The walls are made of sharpened trunks and are as tall as two humans. The captured beasts are tethered by ropes, but have enough freedom to wander and graze. 2 brown boars and a black mouflon. And here are our captives, Ephraim declares proudly. I know it's still a bit empty, but we'll crowd it just before winter. I have some good news for you. I helped the boys from Foggy's catch a large bird that will soon be brought here. While you try to stay to the point, Ephraim is full of energy. He asks about every detail, from the animal's size to the way it acted in combat. Your brief answers are met with shouts, echoed by the silent bounces of the wolf's head. It was a brave venture. I'm glad they didn't try it without you. Ella gestures for the hunter to drop it. Thank you for giving us time to prepare. I was also told to ask for 1 dragon bone. Hey, of course. The carpenter looks around. Pay for the messenger. Just give me a minute. He scurries away and quickly as his thick legs allow him. We don't carry dragons with us, the hunter explains. So how large is the beak? Something like this? He demonstrates the size with his hands, and for another few minutes showers you with questions. Finally, the dragon bone finds its place in your hand. We'll get to the preparations soon, concludes Ella, sweating. Did my brother show you the forest, friend? He leans against the gate and points at the area behind the palisades. I look north. The vast clearing is returning to life. With shrubs spread between the paths and tree stumps, you move to the bridge, then a gateway. Bridge? Then a gateway, I think, because there's a path here, so this is probably the gateway. And have a chance to look around. We can see the edge of our world from the watchtower, Ella narrates subliminally. In the long distance, the plateau ends, surrounded by cliffs. Either climbs up the mountains or fall to your death. Both men tell you about the difficult past of the village. A desperate camp, then a cabin, then 2, shifting its wooden walls as more and more trees were cut. Without tree crowns, we can walk with no shadows, beast dens, gargoyle eyes, concludes the carpenter. It's really better than a forest garden. It would produce much more wood. Now I only see berries. I'm surprised that the wrath of the herds haven't smitten you yet. I'm surprised. Nothing will, friend, the hunter counters, and the carpenter is eager to follow. I think the landscape. Blocking the path here was one of the first things our predecessors took care of, and it may be that the beasts don't realize how much this place has changed. He tells you there's one more thing to see and continues his tale as you walk away. From time to time, something reaches our territory. We feel safe among the bushes, but not so that we would send a child there. We have plans, so many lifetimes won't be enough to complete them. He says with a mix of melancholy and excitement, making Ephraim listen with attention. I want to see a stone wall with a wall for archers, weapons made of copper, a tannery set at its own camp, so we are free of its stench. Farmers, fishers, sorcerers, herbalists. You return to the main square again. The words of a dreamer, the hunter pats his companion's back. First we need to learn how to feed our children. We lack strength and skill. Ephraim looks at you, but we have time. I nod. With time comes opportunity. We reach the edge of the village, a cliff as tall as the wall. Beneath you, two creeks meet each other and form a gentle river. Here? Okay, so there's a river here. And here, yeah, at this point. Oh, this is the cliff. Oh, there's a ladder here. These are the trees we use to learn more about woodwork. Ella is smiling as he leans his back against the wall of a house. We plant new ones, but we'll soon have to bring wood from further away. Give the sapling a few years, or however long they grow. A decade? And this is where I leave the two of you with your boring tree talks. Ephraim points at you. See me later if you need, I'll be around, I rarely hunt alone. The carpenter watches his departing companion with genial eyes. Well, there's work to be done. A new chair awaits me. He leads you to a humble working station, placed at the edge of the square. The tools you noticed are very simple, if not primitive. We don't have to talk about my trade, Evo. What brings you to us? Weird to ask what do you think about Ephraim, because Ephraim just left. This village isn't much older than you are, what's the story? He proudly raises a carving knife and gestures for you to look around. It may be a young village, but there's a lot to say. While his story is bloated with names, relationships, and step-by-step description of the growth of the settlement and bothersome creatures, you get the gist of it. The settlers arrived here 25 years ago, soon after one of the 10 cities had fallen to the southern invasion. Most of them came from the capital, while some joined them along the way. They soon came to realize that none of the villages had enough space or the will to host a few dozen refugees. The folks of Gale Rocks used to have a much kinder attitude towards the strangers than they do now, and they offered the newcomers to stay at the beach behind their village. Yet, there was nothing for them to eat other than what they caught in the salt waters. They soon started their search for a land remote enough to not compete with the locals, and with the help of kind folks from Gale Rocks, White Marshes, Old Pagos, and others, as Ella vaguely states, they received enough wood and tools to turn a scrap of this plateau into a clearing, then a camp, a hamlet, and finally, a village. I try to pay attention. The tale is assisted by walking around the village, introducing you to the original settlers or their offspring, and showing you some of the treasures displayed in the House of Gatherings. A unicorn's horn found at the heart of the woods, a blue rock that's shaped and hollow like an egg, and it's darker inside, an arrow that hit a fright tape in an eye and knocked it down. Behind each of them there are names, stories, and memories. At the very end, Ella leads you back to his workbench. Holding a hand on his conspicuous stomach. To give his throat some rest, he turns to the topic around. And what are the folks in Hovlevan like, friend? Foggy says there are thousands of souls at the capital, and one can go their entire life still finding new faces in the crowd. It may be so, but my city feels lonely. There are many people around, but all of them are busy with their duties to share their lives with others. People spend time with their families and close friends, especially ones they work with. They are close to each other, but no soul knows what happens behind doors. In the evening, the streets feel empty. It's hard to get to know people when everyone's so busy, but kids spend a lot of time together and build long-time friendships. One can easily find groups to hang out with. People shop together, work, take baths, pray, and when one has nothing to do in the evening, they just go outside and seek company. It's not easy to build a strong friendship, though. Hard to say, the merchants are getting richer, the priests have their games, craft guilds decide who goes in and out, and the workers have to compete. There are no monsters on the streets, at least not every day, but there is distrust in many souls. I think this is a good middle ground. You can easily find groups, but it's not easy to build a strong relationship. Other than the last part, it sounds similar to our way of living. Folks stay inside only to sleep or shag, and even that's not a rule. He adjusts his shoulder cloak and smiles. But he also form bonds, one big family and all. Is Asterion around? He halts his work and looks at you with an exaggerated frown. That's a weird question. You are the first Roadwarden I've seen in, well, this season, I think. Did you check in the western villages? You get to Howler's Dell simply staying on the road. His right hand still holding a tool. He's now squeezing his stomach gently. You see, that's why the first time I played, I thought there was something. I feel like a lot of people are hiding information about me. I think you know more about Asterion than you are saying. But fine, I will earn your trust. Maybe when I'm cleaner, we'll talk more. Let me tell you about old Pagos then. He freezes, puts away his tools, then looks at you with wide eyes. Wait for a bit, will you? Without waiting for your response, he springs up and knocks down a few planks as he lurches away, asking his neighbors to call the entire tribe. People surround you asking what's going on, and once the news spreads, you answer dozens of questions, though most of what you have to say could be summed up with, "I'm not sure." Aside from the worried faces, there are also some pragmatic ones. Hunters mentioned that they won't be able to deliver their autumn pelts, while one of the farmers wonders about her cousin. She was always so pious, she says with an accent you remember from old Pagos. May the right reward her prayers, or else. After some time, the crowd pays you little attention, and Ella leads you back to his workshop. They and I will discuss this later, he says with an absent voice, then sits down and glances at his neighbors. People say that Asterion has spent a lot of time in your village, has he? Quests. Find. Was tasking with finding iron and steel, for it's possible that he purchased something at the creeks. I'm not gonna press him. I think he's hiding something about Asterion, but I'll build some trust before I ask more. I heard about the... no, I heard you had some issues with the eastern path. At first he gives you a bright smile, but then nods with a sigh. Hey, so our issues are so clear that folks gossip on them? I'm glad you came to our help, friend, but it doesn't feel right to admit we need help from an outsider. He stands up slowly, walks away, and leaps over one of the log-made tables and looks for something in the pile of wood. In this part of the land, there's always going to be something to do for a Roadwarden. He straightens up with a piece of charred wood in his hand and gets back to you. As he draws black lines on the workbench, he mentions a few names. Creeks, Foggies, Gales rocks there, here's the lake. The map is simplistic and doesn't align with your own understanding of the local distance, but you follow his description without issues. The path from here to the south is getting too wild for us. He repines the path from here to the south. This path? He repines, making another few strokes. The merchants travel through the other route, through Howlersdale, passing by old pagos and white marshes. Once they reach Foggy, they already have full stomachs and many deals closed. And when they travel back, they visit the same places again. Folks already know that trading here takes a long time. So you want me to give them an option to get to you first and move west without backtracking? And do so all by myself? How exactly? Well, I'm sure you can find some help. He pats his stomach without noticing that he leaves a few black dots on his leather jacket. There's a few things you could do. Follow the eastern road and see if it's clear. Are there any safe shelters left? Any blockades to get rid of? Is there an overgrown path to burn? Maybe see if the road from here to the western roads is safe. From here to the western crossroads is safe. Or if the carts could get through the heart of the woods, if you are brave enough. I hope you are a soul with some judgment. Follow the eastern roads. I already did. I cleared this shelter. Seeing your puzzled look, he rests his palms on the table with a shy smile. I know I'm vague, but I bet you already know more about these roads than I do, friend. His eyes return to the map, and after a moment of hesitation, he rubs an uneven line with his thumb. Where would you like me to start? Wouldn't it be better for you to put work into the western road? You could split the labor in. Go to the shelters set just at the side of the roads. There's a ruined campsite west of Foggies. He makes a small circle on his map. Or you could go south to a cabin our elders built. He makes a larger square. It's halfway from here to the river. Take a look around, see what's their condition, if there's any beasts around. You can handle a few small creatures, can't you? I already cleared both shelters. So 2 shelters, and then you just want me to take care of anything I find? He laughs, but not with his eyes. Forgive me, friend, but you don't sound like someone with much experience behind them. You are nothing like a Astarion. He took pride in his self-reliance. Wouldn't it be better for you to put work? I wish there was an option to say that, hey, I already cleared both shelters. They can't be trusted, especially some of them. He crosses the western side of his map with a long, thin line. Even a paved route would force merchants to add a day of pointless travel to their plans, and that's a big loss in their trade. Having our path clear gives everyone more options and more convenience. What about my pay? That depends on what you are about to do, eh? The tribe has bought a few dragons. To confirm his words, he enters the nearby house, from which he picks up an old wooden case, crude in shape and with an unsightly engraving of a three-headed hydra on its lid. Inside it, you see maybe 24 dragon bones. Let's say you get a dragon for any news about cleared or blocked areas, and more if it takes real effort from you. We have a deal. There was a big spider. Okay. The watchtower and the brook. But the rest I already cleared. He flashes you a wide smile and pats his stomach. You won't regret this. He then throws away the shot wood, returns to his stool, and looks for his tools. I got rid of small pock of dusk foxes that live in the ruined shelter in the... Dusk foxes? After he meets your silence, he carries on. I don't know what that is. You describe their looks and the threat they present as Ella observes the clouds, sometimes asking you to explain more. He finally taps his stomach. Well, better than a tribe of goblins. What about the ruins? Is the wood standing strong? He thinks about your brief tale and looks inside the wooden case. I admit, restoring this place right away would be a waste of time and effort. We may need your help with it, but maybe next spring or even the one after that. I'll give you 1 dragon for the news and another 2 for handling the foxes. He observes your cheek and hands, then smiles. I'm glad to see you're fine, friend. How's the cabin doing? You answer him a few times and he stretches his arms, then puts his hands on the back of his head. His eyes are absent. So it will be an easy restoration, maybe a few logs to swap and the roof won't do much good anymore. It takes your pronounced grunt for him to blink a few eyes and raise the lid of the case. 1 for the news, he puts the first dragon on the tabletop, then another one next to it. And this one for taking care of the beast. Okay, thanks a lot. Well, friend, thanks to your tales, the hunters and foragers feel more confident about the meadows from here to Foggy's, and even beyond. When you have a day to spare, come here any morning, ask our tribesfolk about a job for a Roadwarden, unless it rains. You get 2 dragons and enough stew to fill your belly for a day of patrolling the roads and assisting us and our wagons. So the things you are meant to do anyway, eh? I cleared the statue south of Foxwood. That woman with a stick? Seeing you nod, he stops his work. What for? The road's prettier now. He burst into laughter. I don't think merchants cared much about the views, friend. The statue may fall into the lake for what I care. I'm never tired of good news. I took a look at the dolmen in the south, it's safe. He keeps his scope in wood and asks you about the size and the entrance of the chapel. I heard it's small, but not that small. Not enough for a group, but maybe a lone traveler, without a mount. He looks at you with a smile. Pick a dragon bone from the case, will you? I don't want to stop now. You reach toward the door. Yeah, grab 1 coin. And I encountered a fallen tree in the far south. You describe its exact location. I guess it was unavoidable for this to happen at one point or the other. Too bad it's so far away from here. He stops his work and turns toward you. So, would you like to help us with that, friend? You ask him what he proposes, and he describes what he calls a day of honest work. Just come to me someday in the early hours. I still need to discuss this with the tribe, but I'll ask the stronger folks to travel with you up to the tree. They'll agree if they feel like the roads can be trusted. Split it into blocks, get it on wagons, bring it here. It won't go to waste, and the road will be cleaned. When you mention it's going to take an entire day, he agrees. And we'll give you 5 dragon bones for it. Just come to me when you are healthy, and only if you already know what's on the route from here to that point. We'll put a lot of trust into your guidance and protection. So you want me to get to know the entire route? Safe enough for your tribe and come here in the morning, but only if I can handle the journey. Okay. He thinks about your words, then reaches for his case. You are right, that's a lot. I can't help you much, but at least you deserve 1 bone right away for bringing me the message. Maybe buy some rations for it, or a good rest. Actually, we also need at least 1 day to prepare ourselves. Thanks. Before continuing the conversation, I'm gonna do a quick pause. It's been 1 hour and a lot of talking, so I need to hydrate. Be right back. Okay, I am back. Let's continue. Let's ask about... I like to learn more about the peninsula. Our tribe won't be much of a help there, he admits while judging the hard surface of a small plank. It was our parents who did all the traveling, and they did so while we were kids or not yet born. Most of them are already gone, and most of us travel no further than Foggies, and only when we have to. Let's ask about the bandits. He makes an awkward cut with a chisel and lets out a quiet shit, then starts to rub the plank with his thumb. Bandits, you say? Soldiers from the city have already taken care of them. You pressure him for a bit, and after he glances at you, he nods slowly. Bandits is a strong word. Those are not some strangers, but folks of the north, our neighbors. One of them is from our very own tribe, and they don't target us, just strangers. You ask him again if he's sure no one from his village has been targeted so far, and after a cold A, he reaches for a carving knife. Again, you are hiding things from me, aren't you, about the eastern path? Did you face any trouble? Watchtower. Okay. I'll see you later. I approach the shallow creek. With the calming sounds of the waterfall around you, you observe a stream as clean as a spring. The oak ash soap you own is not enough to help you get cleaner. I jump into the stream, just to get a little bit cleaner. There are no fish or plants to bother with, and your feet find mud among the not always smooth pebbles. The water reaches above your waists, allowing you to have some fun and wash every spot of your shell. Thanks to the gentle flow, you are able to remove the mud stains from your clothes and boots. Step away. I have 8 hours. Going back to Foggy. 6 hours to go back to the ruins. But I want to talk with Afrin first. He raises his eyebrow, then the wolf's head, as if to see you better. Are you the only hunter around? But of course not. He takes a suspiciously long pause. 7 of us. The tribe is small. We have enough food without daily trips. If we catch too much meat, it spoils, so it's better to let the animals feel safe. You try to change the topic, but the man suddenly looks around and lowers his wolf's head. Well, there's just one issue. 3 of my friends left the village just a few days ago, and they haven't returned yet. Ayla is growing worried. Why do you think they are not back yet? He walks around from time to time looking at you with an open mouth, not sure how to start. He takes off his heavy cloak and looks you in the eyes. They left for a few days to seek and kill some big game, each of them a different one, then bring all of them for me to judge. His confident voice falters when he mentions his own part. The winner would have caught me the prey of the greatest size, rarity, utility, and of the greatest threat. He turns away and lowers the wolf's mouth. Tell me more about those 3. They are hunters and fighters, but also close friends. If one of them was in trouble, the other would have done all they could to help. They've been a team for years, and we're planning to start a family this winter, you know. Their last big adventure before Dahlia's belly locks her at home. He gives you quite a tale of their deeds and features. Dahlia is the bravest of them with strong legs. She has simple ways and looks for beasts in the open, by the roads. Her hair is light, always tied in a single braid. Admon is a man who seeks paths and challenges. He believes that seeking knowledge of the peninsula will bring the tribe ways to survive hardships. He is smaller than the others, and knows more about dressing the wild game than any of us. His arms are small, but he often places traps. His hair is a bit darker than Dahlia's, but short, just like his beard. Vashel is not a man, though they were born with a prick, and wears browns and greens to blend in with the trees. They hunt like a gargoyle, hiding among leaves, jumping at a creature when it gets close. Because of that, they have often roamed in the woods, even though those that are far away from the village. Let's say I were to find them, what should I tell them? Have you no shred of optimism? Maybe they're fine, just tell them to come home. We've got enough wood and food to start the next feast. And I have a hint that an honorable guest may be welcome here. He smiles at you, and for a moment you think you see the wolf heads wink. Does your tribe often send lone hunters? This isn't a hunt, but a competition. The winner names their first child. Hey, I've heard their arguments. You wouldn't believe how hard it is to pick a name when you have 3 parents. He chuckles to himself. Once the memory fades, he gets serious again. But I can't disagree with you, friend. It's the first time in many years since my tribe's folk have gone on such reckless trip, and I fear it may remind us why the peninsula isn't a place for adventurers. Where should I start? He looks at you as if you're slow. I would have found them myself if I knew, eh? Let the horse take you to other settlements, ask there. Isn't helping 3 young, strong souls enough? Seeing your look, he raises his voice, draws his obsidian edge club, and touches his chest with it. Then I will loyally assist you, friend. For your brave deeds, you may count on me on a day of great challenge. As he lowers his weapons, he winks at you. And others will be grateful as well, you know that. I'll tell you if I find anything. Thanks, friends, and all you have is a tale of the dead shells. Bring me something to prove, eh? A trinket, a weapon, a thing we can throw into a pyre. Does this rawhide belongs to your tribe? He gives you a glance. He gives it only a glance, then throws it away. I think so. After you describe where you found it, he reaches toward the wolf's head but doesn't touch it. Me and the other hunters go to this place in spring, when there's fewer beasts around, sit on blankets. He points at the hide. Eat before the hunt. Maybe you'll find a trail there? So the one I found was Vetchel. He interrupts your tale many times, but having little knowledge to spare, you can't satisfy his curiosity. So you don't really know what happened, just that their shell was in the woods. He gives you a long look, but finally nods. Any evidence? I took this earring from the shell. He observes it for a few moments, then lets out a sigh. So you did. They made this when they were but a little kid, and told me that once they had a child, they would never wear such ugly things. Their words. He lowers his fist, then looks toward the entrance to the village. I mean, it's not such a bad trinket. I trust Vetchel's judgment here. One bit of bad news isn't all, eh? Maybe the others are fine. I'll tell you if I find anything. What do you know about the road through the haunt? I know to avoid it. Blood there. Seeing that you are waiting for a longer tale, he adjusts his heavy cloak, spending a good minute on making sure that you understand it's a dangerous place. You do better riding around it. The northern road is the safest, he concludes. After you insist that any sort of guidance may be of use, he scratches the wolf's head. I've heard from a friend that knows we're moving there. Those very small beast folks, you know? He moves an open hand close to his hips, portraying the height. They'll threaten you until you give them some meal, and that's all they eat. No fruits, no, I don't know. Bones? But it's the fry tapes that scare me the most, and there's an entire family of them. Trust me, if you ever hear the terrible scream of a human somewhere in the tree crowns, run as fast as you can. Don't seek it, and certainly don't fight it. Just ride as fast as you can. I walk away. Can I get to Hallersdale? It takes 4 hours. I have 7 hours. Let's travel to Foggy and then Hallersdale. Because I want to sleep at Hallersdale because I get cleaner there than at Foggy's. And then the next day I'll explore the ruins. The light shines on the water and the empty road. With no herbal beds or travelers in sight, the tavern looks like an abandoned hamlet. The tavern staff is sitting on the stairs, enjoying the light in silence as they share a roasted fish. I need to buy something. What do you have? Someone quests. Someone asked for metal, I think. Missing hunters, I found one. Path. I thought someone was interested in metal scraps, but apparently not. But I will buy the 4 meals in advance. Svi is sitting on the ground, while the 2 others are leaning against the palisade. They glance toward you, but say nothing. Admon, Dal, and Vashel didn't return from their hunting trip. Why would they? Roused Svi. They don't waste our time, we don't bother with theirs. Ilan's eyes are a bit warmer. Ephraim already asked us. They ate there on the stairs, then left days ago. They didn't want to get in each other's way, so they planned to spread, that's all I know. Seeing your look, he spreads his arms in an awkward shrug. They were laughing, eating, all confident and strong. I didn't know they would disappear. You consider his words when the shorter man starts to snap his fingers. Wait. I heard one thing. Something about, that they won't go north because of the dark magic in the tunnel. Then it's smart of them, concludes Zilan with a humble smile. Better than nothing, eh? I'm sure they're fine. Let's go for Hallersdale while I still can. You ride through the open gate, then swiftly dismount. Some of the locals greet you politely, but they keep their distance. Your clothes, torn and worn, make you look like a vagabond. I head to the stables. I pay the stable master, I let him work in peace. Let's go to the tailor, let's see if they can help me with the clothes. I need your services. Half an hour, your jacket will be precisely adjust your figure, making it easier to fight in. Yes, I want this and I want this. I want both. She stops her work and looks at you briefly. Hey, I can tell. You don't wear even a hint of mockery. You don't hear even a hint of mockery. But that's a lot of work, and I need you to take my work lightly. If I were to give you anything, people would see it, and I'll need like to show them some rags. And by that you mean your prices are high. You reach for a pouch and she answers with a nod. It will take me a day or so to finish, and a fine fabric. Your city clothes are... She frowns. Just fine for the wilderness, I guess, but I'll give you... What I'll give you is for the time with lamb meat and mead, need pathfinding. The longer the outfit you want, the higher the price. Though I'd consider the things people say about you as well. Just fine for the wilderness. What I'll give you is for the time with lamb meat and mead, need pathfinding. Well, but I want my clothes to be fine for the wilderness. Fancy tunic. Merchant, fancy dress. No, I don't want any of those. Let's go to the main square. Let's see if Akakios, the trader, has something for sale. Linen sheet. New battle axe. No, my battle axe is holding well. Do I have anything to sell to them? No, I don't think so. Let's go to sleep. The moon is bright, and so is the night. You recognize shapes of owls and bats, and spot movements on the ground. There are many stories about the moon's origins and purpose, and they are older than any of the doctrines known in the cities. These legends are shared not by religions, but rather by tribes, as if they are a part of a deeper conviction, something spread through the milk of mothers and wet nurses, and through the whispers of the trees and winds. The moon is a powerful spirit. It's a large rock that one day will fall from the sky. It controls the weather. It's a home of strange animals. They're different, but as bright as human, and sometimes visit the land. No, too sci-fi. Let's go with controls the weather. You spend the night in peace in a clean bed with a tightly shut window and a warm blanket. In the morning you find a stool placed by your bed, covered with a cup of mint tisane, 3 chicken eggs and baked duck meat. I've never been so clean before in this game. I think it's the first time in my 2 playthroughs of this game that I got this much cleanliness. The innkeeper is sitting near the door, from time to time carrying out another bowl with... I approach the innkeeper. I'm looking for a few hunters. How is my rations? I still have 5, that's good enough. He rubs his neck and looks at the clouds. I recognize those names, but I've seen any folk from creeks in a long time. They come here before and after the winter to trade for grains. Thanks. Trader is not around. Don't have anything to talk with. Let's travel. Let's go to the let's go to the Elder's Cave and then the ruins. The family of deer you met some day ago has returned to the pond, this time accompanied by more members of their pack. One buck towers over all the others, with antlers as large as your palfrey. It takes a few steps toward you, shaking its head. You better stay where you are. You observe their curious, lazy glances, while the adults quench their thirst. The young ones are playing in the tall grasses, or basking in the middle of the road. It takes quite a few minutes before the large beast orders the others to head back into the woods. Its bellow is like a falling boulder. I wait. 2 ibexes, a male and a female, are lying on the rocky mountainside. A gentle wind is brushing their fur. The old druid is resting on the bench and welcomes you with a new interest in his voice. Words of the help you've shown to my neighbors from Hallersdale have reached me, traveler. Very good, very good. I'm always ready to do the right thing. That's too righteous. But this one seems mockery. Know how I should have addressed you. I want to fix my mistakes. Do I know how to address them properly? No? White marchers, hunters about druids. Vegetarian, Dalits. Do I know the Swamp Otter? I'm not sure. I'm bringing you from Old Pagos. I thought I already gave you news from Old Pagos. Any hunters from creeks visited you recently? Here, in the opposite corner of the peninsula, most people do not have a beast to carry them for miles, stranger. His playful tone suddenly gets worried. Or did their struggles with meat get so grim that they ever consider such dangerous trips? He takes a deep breath and leans back. I can need force beasts to jump under one's blade. The forest would need trust me anymore. His eyes widen. I thought I already told you about the plague, but apparently not. What did you say? A plague? You tell him everything you've heard about the symptoms. He attentively observes your lips and sometimes asks you to clarify some details, though you usually don't know how to answer him. He finally nods, then turns away and approaches the garden beds. Lost in his thoughts, you wait in silence. He speaks after a short break. There's nothing I can do. His words are trembling. Is there anything I can do? He strokes his beard and examines your equipment. There may be. You can help me cast a spell of great power, but it will take much. You would need air, and you'd have to give up a grand reward. 'Tis a quest for a hero, near a messenger, and there are ni heroes. You may be right. Tell me more and I'll decide what to do later on. Before you finish, he turns away from you and looks at the falling water. Then listen. Help me awaken Beholder, the good totem from the swamp. You've already passed his altar in the crossroads, north from here. It needs to be fed, and it only feasts on spirits. The Neoma held in human blood, the magic locked in items. Offer them, and it will answer your call. But it is a hungry being, and it will need be nurtured by a single gift. Who knows how much it wants? He carries on without pausing, and if he's speaking as if he's speaking from memory. But let it grow, and it will reward you. Take its whole seed and bring it back to me. I'll enter the village, and through the totem's power, I'll replenish my strength and keep Neoma before it leaves the lungs of humans. He stands in the same spot for a few breaths, then finally looks back at you. Yeah, couldn't the druids help? He puts his hands on his sides and looks at the clouds above him. If they were willing to help you, they wouldn't send you here, at least not all by yourself. They stare into the promises of power and the fears that such promises bring. For them, losing Neoma is a risk. You must understand that old Pagos is no friend of theirs, and it bows to the right, the creature that laughs when we wither. Many people from Ni spare a tear for this place, and would much prefer it to turn into a house for boars and rooks. So I need to offer magic to the altar. What must we do next? When you deliver the seed to me, we'll leave, though we'll need time to get to old Pagos and back. It is a long road for a shell of my ears, but the totem's gift will keep me strong. Tell me more about this seed. His voice becomes confident and solemn. Beholder bears but one fruit a year, and only if its hunger is satisfied. The heart of this fruit, its seed, holds a great power of youth, strength, and magic. Therefore, when the winter ends, the people of Hallersdale gather at its feet and give away Neoma held in their blood and possessions. This is a sacrifice that would kill a single soul, but when shared by many, it is but a sign of acceptance, an act of overcoming pain. Okay, let's travel. I think I actually am gonna... How much time do I have? Oh, I have 13 hours, yes. I'm gonna actually travel here to the... sorcerer or what? Witch or... forgot what she is. The first part of the trail is narrow and overgrown. The steep crag in the south divides the lush forest in half. You barely recognize any shapes in the entanglement of grays, browns, and greens. The northern landscape, while similarly impenetrable, is the exact opposite. The meadow turns into barren hills and mountains, barely covered by grass and bushes. Maybe the riding abaxes of the clanspeople from the growing mountains would get through such a barrier. But there are no clans here. The road leads you downhill to the edge of a lake. The clearing around the dwelling is quiet, with no crickets, flies, or even toads. The grass is not even knee-high. There are no signs of wart or boats. Wharf? What's a wharf? The wall wasn't coated and has already been beaten by winds and rains. I look for an entrance. Right next to the gate, a gargoyle, or a stone look-alike, kneels on a slab. It's dark purple, almost black, with yellow pointing teeth, though its half-open mouth has no tongue, and the creature doesn't move even an inch. The eyes have been replaced by crystals, red like currant juice. I knock on the gate. Finding no knocker, use your fist. There's no response. Anyone home? Your voice is welcomed by the screeching of dozens of avian throats. They take off from behind the wall, heading toward the lake. After a few breaths, the eyes of the gargoyle grow brighter. What's with all the ape shouts? You lost? The words are coming from the monster's mouth, though it remains still. Stand in front of me, I want to see your mug. The drawling voices. I forgot how to read. The drawling voice belongs to a woman, but is lined with unnatural creaking. I'm Evo, the new Roadwarden. Yeah, I'm gonna be distant. I see. A short pause. I don't leave my house often, but I may have a job for a traveler. You know who I am, right? Naturally. What do you call her? Someone told me about her. Someone told me about her. It's not gonna be in the bestiary. Archive. Not gonna find in the archive. I forgot her name. She's some kind of sorcerer. I think someone told me about I think Pelt of the Norns, they told me about her. I think it's Eudocia? I think it's Eudocia, her name. Short pause. You're disturbing my work. It's the middle of the day. I need to stay focused. You hear her deep, annoyed breath. For a warden, I'll make this one exception. But next time come in the early morning or soon after, before the night. Wait where you are. We are opening the gates. The monster's eyes darken again. Soon after, you hear heavy steps and the earth shakes. Something lifts the beam blocking the gate. You realize that your hand is already on the haft of your axe. The gate opens violently and rebounds with a loud thud, almost closing again. The creature in front of you is made of floating rocks that appear to be connected, but it's just an illusion. They could twist and bend in every direction. The eyeless sentinel faces you blankly. You've seen other golems in Hoflavan, endlessly helping with bothersome tasks, but you've no idea what makes them move. It lowers its slab-like hands and steps aside, making way for you. Its head rotates, following your steps, but other than that, it's motionless as a statue. The house in front of you has a huge entrance, just large enough for a golem. The building is whitewashed, but the lime is aged and damaged. The tools are spread around in no particular order. The rocks resting on the top of the shed resemble the golems. The garden patches covered with herbs and vegetables are neglected. It's quiet here. I approach the sitting golem. It seems dead, inactive, as city folks would call it. But the Neoma still makes its chunks float less than an inch away from one another. It doesn't react to your presence. Unlike the previous golem, this one bears engraved signs on its larger rocks. Their meaning is unclear to you, and you can't tell if they are a decoration or carriers of a spell. A leaf of the door opens. The woman is tall and stands upright, with her arms crossed and legs apart. She is more than 30, with a face touched by a lack of sleep. She gives you a long look, observing your blade. Hands, boots, forehead, everything but your eyes. I greet ye. Without the distortion caused by the gargoyle, her strong voice isn't as disquieting. No surprise that it caught the eye, but don't disturb it. It's very much awoken and will defend itself, or me, if it comes to it. She's wearing a long, ragged robe covered in stains. It used to be blue, but now it's unevenly pale. She's barefoot, with skin covered with dust and dirt. Her dark hair was recently washed, but it's untidily spread on her shoulders, back, and chest. She wears no jewelry belt or buckle. Let's see. I'm just gonna say thank you for agreeing to see me. She absently stares. There's the update. Humans. Eudocia, yeah, Enchantress. Yeah, I remembered correctly her name. She absently stares at your nose. If you are looking for help, you came to the wrong place. I don't make sacrifices for others. If you need to bother me, speak in the tongue of dragons and barter. It's not a sanctuary. I offer no bed or stew. She walks past you and cocks her head toward the golem who let you in. He turns around and shuts the gate. I let ye in this time, but it won't happen again, not during my work. If you ever come here in the middle of the day, you stand outside, looking at the doors like an ibex. We don't need more salutations, so... Her voice gets cold, harsh. Why are you here? Looking for a job. She stands still for a moment, then stares into the distance with her grey, absent irises. I've got some stuff that could use another hand. You up for some danger if it comes to it? You nod and ask what sort of creature is bothering her. Nah, I meant riding and climbing. If you can do this without grabbing that axis of yes, perfect. Now give me a moment. She opens one of the heavy doors to her house and you catch a glimpse of a messy bed and a floor covered with clothes. After a minute, she shows up with a large sack filled with rods made of smooth, clean bronze. Here's the gist of it. I need you to get to 8 spots across the peninsula. High buildings, trees, mountainsides. I don't really travel much. She lets out a confident chuckle. So I can't hold your hands. I need one of them in White Marshes, in the wetlands far west of here. Other than that, You need to keep ye eyes open. She takes one of the rods. Once you reach a good spot, place one of these as high as you can. I'll pay you in dragons, 2 for each one, but place at least 4 before you come to see me. I need as many of them as there out there as possible. Well, there's magic in them, as you can imagine. You weight a rod in your hand. Even though it's more than 2 feet long, it's light, empty inside. You could bend it on your knee. The bag also contains a long hemp cord and a scrap of cloth. If I were to send my golems away, let's say a mile or 2 from here, they'd stop moving at all, waiting for me to show up. She approaches the nearest sentinel and touches its chest. They carry similar rods inside, so the plan is to give my orders better range, so to speak. I'm tired of depending on hirelings, especially since they no longer stop by. She leans against the golem, with her arms crossed. Questions? Oh, don't worry about it. She does soft the golem's arm. Let's say before the leaves turn yellow. She gives you a puzzled look. Wardens do have their ways to get on people's good side, correct? You're not trying to raid. Her gray eyes give you a long, disquieting look. You could swear it's getting colder here. I won't ask for your trust if I don't need them. Either help me or leave the rods on your own stuff. And do your own stuff. I have a deal. Let's see. Why, are you tracing a murder? She smirks, but then grabs the arrow and takes a quick look. Black and orange. I don't know much about wood, but I recognize these feathers. The peoples of Gale Rocks breed such pheasants. Gale Rocks? Were they the ones attacking, or were they the ones attacked? Let's bring news from Old Pangus. She stands still. Come again? While you describe the symptoms, she starts to fidget and finally interrupts you. Cut it. Have you heard aught about Eulalia and Irinos? They are about 50-55. A mason and a sculptor. Her eyes are getting bad. He has a limp. I never entered the gate. She rubs her arms above her elbows, as if to warm herself up. If you ever ride there again, she meets your eyes. Ask around, please. I need to know. Let's ask about Asterion. She raises her chin, challenging your look. I know not where he may be, but if he wanted to be found, he'd let us find him. She glances at the gate. No, nothing else, thank you. I'm gonna go ruins. Tower, ruins, and then sleep at Pelt. Have 8 hours, yes. Tower. Let's see if I can put a rod at top of the tower. The watchtower is blending with the wilderness slowly. For a moment you think that the gate's position has changed since your last visit. But once you get closer, you are sure there are no fresh tracks. Do I have fruits? I still have some wild plants. I'm gonna keep traveling. I need a key to this door. Let's go to the ruins. How many rods did she give me? 8. So I can sacrifice 4 for the tree and place the other 4. I don't need, finally for the first hand, I don't need to wash myself. You pull the rope and see 2 flopping fish inside. You prepare your axe, then open the lid and reach for your catch. You stand the animals one by one, with 2 careful blows in the top of their heads. Then finish them off with a knife, cutting underneath the gill plates. You spend another minute or 2 bleeding out the fish in the stream, then cover them with a waxed linen sheet. You should eat them soon before they spoil. I go to the main square. In every village, the main square is the fanciest area, meant to charm the travelers. Yet this is way more than you expected. The houses are as big as in Hoflavan, and the paved ground took a lot of work and materials. The walls, now charred and riddled with holes, are made of an expensive coated wattle. The tiles for the roof also has to be brought here from a different settlement. Don't know what a wattle is. You peek inside the 3 smaller buildings, the rotting remains of their former splendor. The birds living in dozens of nests respond to your arrival with quite a commotion. You don't find even a single dragon bone, nor a tool or a piece of furniture left unbroken or unrotten. You are surrounded by bad smells, dirty animal droppings and garbage. The well also stinks. It has no bucket, but you'd be afraid to use it anyway. Who knows how many birds have relieved themselves inside, and how many old rats have found their death while climbing up the walls. Suddenly, you notice the stains of blood at the entrance to the largest building. You feel a slight aching in your stomach. I should check it out. I prepare my axe. You step cautiously and take a peek into a cellar-like entrance hall, without any source of light other than the sun that enters through the door. There are dismantled barrels and a few scraps of iron laying around, all of them looking like a result of human work, not time. You notice no burnt wood, no smell of putridity. The whiff of urine is complemented by goblin feces and trails of blood. You see a torn to pieces tent and clothes, broken tools, and a crossbow, damaged beyond repairs. The road to the upper floor seems to be blocked by the collapsed roof and loose wooden beams. There are scraps of rusting iron on the ground attached from now destroyed furniture. Such metal parts can be worth quite a bit. You can safely assume that their owner won't return for them. I can get this iron. You walk carefully, avoiding blood and dirt. Some of the iron and steel is touched by rust, but a blacksmith will make good use of them. You use your knife to turn the tent into rags, then wrap them over the roughly edged pieces of your loot, making sure they won't cut Agro's back during your ride. You find only one other thing of value, 2 short arrows made for a crossbow. You wonder where the owner's shell is. I look around the northern gate, northwest, northeast part of the village. The debris was partially moved outside of the destroyed houses, but you find nothing of value. The table, cupboards, shelves, and bits and pieces were carefully ransacked. The wildly growing vegetables and herbs are the only remains of the abandoned gardens. You spot fresh human footprints at the entrance to the latrine. Most of which lead to and from the center of the village. You notice a set of simple tools leaned against a pile of rubble. a wooden spade and a shovel, a pointed stick, a hoe with a bone head, a stone axe. All of them are too old and too awkward to bother with transporting them around, but you know where to find them if you need them in the future. Let's go to the northern gate. The paths here have almost been reclaimed by grasses. To your east and west, you see shadowy alleys behind damaged buildings. Let's check the tree. You don't find anything worth picking. The half-dead quinces have maggots crawling under their skins. You wonder which part of this meal is more tempting for the dark-winged birds sitting among the branches, the flesh of the fruits or of the worms. Quinces are rarely eaten without having a chance to plant. You can safely guess that they were meant to be dried, or to add taste to cookies or hard drinks. After a few moments you realize that the bottom part of the tree, just above the ground, is partially charred. Someone must have posed a torch here, but the wet wood didn't burst into flames. I look into the well. I go somewhere else. Northwest part of the village. The colorful grass covers the entire fenced pasture. The large stone placed in the middle suggests it would be a playground for ibexes, or maybe it's just an old garden. You see a couple of small sheds, a latrine, and a single building to the south, completely burnt down. All of these places were cleaned out by scavengers. Agro doesn't want to approach the large ruins in the north. The terrible stench of feces and rotting food scares you off as well. The paths are covered with goblin footprints. It's daytime, so the pack should be asleep. If the beasts were active, they would try to scare you off or to hunt down your mount. This is their territory, and once they wake up, you will face a furious enemy, so let's move somewhere else, quietly. The closer you are to the village and the longer you stay around, the sicker you feel. The taste of gastric juices hits your mouth. Your forehead hurts, you start to stumble. Agro, worried by the sight, pokes your head with its nose. First time I played, I encountered someone here. But now, I made different choices. I haven't found anyone. Go outside, keeping your mouth shut. After a few minutes, your eyes get cleaner. Let's 3 hours. Yeah, let's go to the Pelt and rest there. The guards ignore your arrival as you ride in, the other hunters playing with their boar, patting its side and feeding it. At this hour, the armorer's workshop is closed. Let's enter the ring. I have some fish to sell. He points behind you, then puts the dragon bone on the counter. Thanks. Put them there in the bucket. Show me your wares. No, I want things to shower with, although I'm pretty clean. Iron scraps. I could free you from this iron and steel, but we don't have a furnace to work with them. Let's say 6 coins. Deal. What? I'm gonna sleep. Rains once again hit the ground, interrupting your sleep. Another day of muddy roads. So I can't go back to creeks because they said, oh, don't come back when it's muddy. I will end stream here by now. But I'm gonna make notes of the next steps. I want to go to Gale Rocks. And then back to creeks to seek work or clear the fallen tree. That's gonna be my mission next. I don't think I need this note about Astarion. Let me shave. And that's all from me for today. Time to power down. Bye bye.